Sorry, folks. Let me start over. What I was saying is the first thing I said was Ninja gives you a heads up. Ninja gives you a heads up when you first load the platform during the day. You get a contract and a checkbox, and they tell you that this particular instrument is rolling over. If you leave the box checked, it will remove the previous contract. So if you do a lot of testing, it's a big waste of time because you'll have to re-enter your contracts. So what I do is I uncheck the box, and that way, because I do so much testing, it leaves my old contracts in my platform, so I don't have to re-enter them. So when Ninja gives you a heads up when you first load the platform that day, and there's a contract that's showing you that it's rolling over, if you uncheck the box, it won't remove the previous contracts. Okay? Now, the other thing I was saying is, so how do you know you're trading the right contract? First thing I'll go over, I'll show you the volume. But secondly, it's really not that complicated. It looked more obvious. This is clearly a chart that you don't want to trade. So if you load a contract and it looks anything like that, you just have to make sure you check contract dates and find the correct one. That is not a tradable chart, okay? There's no orders, there's no liquidity. It looks ridiculous. You're not going to try and trade that. But if you noticed that other natural gas chart, when you look at natural gas, was it 11? Let's see. Nope, it was 12. So if you look at natural gas 12, this chart's a little trickier. You know, it almost looks like a normal chart, but not really. There's just too many unformed candles, okay? So if you have a chart and there's a lot of unformed candles, and it especially becomes more obvious as you scroll back to earlier in the day, again, that's not rocket science. Those are just charts you don't want to trade. So if you can't figure out what the right contract is, don't trade. Wait until you find out. You can always, make Google your best friend. Google is always your best friend. For what it's worth, also, Ninjatrader tech support, they are fantastic, okay? If you need a question answered, they answer within an hour, almost all the time during, trading hours. They're absolutely great. So if it's a contract or an account issue, you email brokerage support at ninjatrader.com. Brokerage support at ninjatrader.com. You can call them also, but they're so good on their tech support online through email that it's just not necessary to call them. Just email them early enough so you get your answer before you're trading. And if it's a tech support issue about using the platform, not a brokerage issue, like what data do I buy? How do I get my CQG password? That's broker. But if it's, how do I fix Ninjatrader replay so the time doesn't reset to 12 a.m. all the time? That is a platform support at ninjatrader.com. Platform support at ninjatrader.com. And I'm telling you, they're polite. They will remote into your machine when necessary the same day. They really do a very, very good job on tech support. Now, I know that some of our members really dislike Ninjatrader and really hate their tech support because they feel that Ninjatrader is not always honest, and they're definitely not transparent. And that is true. I'm not saying they're not honest, but they are not transparent. Transparent in the sense that if you ask them, they will tell you, okay? But they don't always volunteer all the information that we need. So keep that in mind. Transparency is not their strong suit. And, I don't know if it's, what their company policies are. I can just tell you that, I didn't even know that you couldn't trade the new micro oil contract without going through some special setup. And I didn't know that there was a bug in the simulation template. in NinjaTrader. So that's a lack of transparency, a lack of communication on their part. Those are things that should be absolutely communicated with an email. Now, look, maybe it's online and I missed it, so I'm not going to give them an ultra hard time because basically my tech support experiences with them have been absolutely great. Okay, so keep that in mind. They certainly are not, they're far from perfect. They are not great about adding new instruments, new indexes. They're not great. Sometimes they don't act the way I think a broker should in terms of adding new important instruments to trade. And what I'm thinking about is they never added the Hong Kong index and they never added the Hang Seng index. Those are two indexes that would add a lot of trades for us if those indexes were supported properly. Zoso, they are in the process of becoming the clearing broker. So they will have ACH transfer. You won't need a debit card. You'll be able to just move funds in and out of NinjaTrader brokerage with an ACH transfer. I got an email very recently that they are becoming the clearing broker. Now, that just has a little bit of concern about whether or not there's some conflicts there. If they're the clearing broker and the broker, you know, so I guess, but if it's legal, then it doesn't really matter. And I would assume it's legal because they got away with it. And there's two popular clearing brokers, JK. For people in the United States, the two most popular clearing brokers are Dorman and Phillips Capital. And when you set up your account, you can choose either one. I always just, for whatever reason, I used Dorman when I first started years ago, but I've not heard of any complaints with Phillips either. It seems to be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Now, some people have grandfathered accounts. They have old accounts. One of our accounts, for instance, is actually all of our accounts right now are AMP accounts. Now, AJ, I'm surprised you were able to fund your account with ACH. So they may have implemented some of the clearing broker issues already. Ninja is going to ACH, JK. That's what it said in the email that I received. That's what it said, definitely. It said they're becoming a clearing broker. That's what it said. So, I mean, that's a big deal because it is such a pain in the neck to deal with wires. Who wants to deal with wires? You know, it's not 1952. Wires are a thing of the past. It's ridiculous. You know, okay, if you got a family member in, I mean, there's no reason to use a wire no matter what. I mean, PayPal, right? If you have a family member overseas, you can PayPal them. Wires are ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the banks charge like $15 to do a wire. It's like throwing money in the bathroom. You know, it's absolutely stupid. So it's high time that these changes were made, and it's great news, I think. We have no choice. Look, NinjaTrader owns the platform. They can say whatever they want about who the broker is. So they made a decision years ago that they were going to be the broker for their platform. They have that right. Okay. It's now 25 a wire, AJ. I haven't wired in a long time. Last time I wired, it was 15. JK, oh, AJ is asking. So we're going to trade. Now, I'm not live on natural gas currently. All of these weeks were not winners. I'm sorry to say that sometimes I take issue with the analysis of the trades. There were at least one of these trades took place so fast that people got filled at the top of the candle and the price pulled back and they were stopped out. Sometimes in analysis, the slippage is not seen. And just so it's understood. And also, if I use different targets in the trade room than what my boss is analyzing, there could be a winner when we had a loser. Okay, it's very important to understand that. It's not that he's trying to show the strategy in a better light. It's just that the analysis he's doing is sometimes on a different setup. Think about some of the times where I'll use a different bracket because of volatile conditions that might be unique to the past day, week, or month. So you want to keep that in mind. We're not trying to make things appear better than they are, but sometimes analysis doesn't work because a market can move so fast that you just cannot tell. I mean, Chantal, who everybody is starting to know, she works for us. She's done a tremendous amount of testing for us. She really knows how to read charts down to better than almost anyone I've ever met. And when I ask her, what do you think the slippage was on that trade? Do you think the entry time hurt us? And she says, I don't know. Then I know that the truth about analysis is that sometimes it just doesn't tell you what really happened. Sometimes the only truth that can be derived is live trades, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. Never are we looking to lie or make things up. Understanding why analysis can be incorrect will tell you why these things happen. And you know how many times you hear me in the room saying, hey, I think that week was not a winner. I'm totally 1,000,000% transparent. So I never hide anything. Let me just think if that's true. Will I hide? Okay, if I get stopped out on a U.S. jobs report and I lose a fortune and I get a software error and it's a room full of 1,000 people, everybody saw me lose money, but I'll tell you the truth, I'm not going to send that report out on Twitter. So, I mean, I'm not going to advertise my failures, but I can't hide them because you're in the room with me and you see me lose, okay? So, but I'm not going to spend the rest of the day talking about the fact that I had a horrible, horrible trade, because we are still here to be in business. You know, if we don't survive to stay in business, then we don't have a trade room. I can't help anybody. I can't do trade setups. So I think everybody understands, you know, we are a business, but if you can't be honest, especially in a trading business, then don't be in business. There's so many dishonest trading businesses. It's horrible. So last week was a very nice trade. We have a couple of members trading natural gas live, and they made all their targets last week. It was a very winnable setup. Last week was a winner. Okay. And you can tell by the speed of the move. If you learn to recognize that as a perfect move, a perfect speed of a move also, it'll help you understanding which trades might have been problematic and which trades weren't. Let's look at August 5th, 2 weeks ago, with my favorite chart colors. I wish all of you loved my chart colors because I like it darker so much better. I hate the light charts. So 2 weeks ago, even a better move than last week. If you learn to recognize why this is a better move, look how it just leisurely, and we say leisurely, but leisurely for us, how it moves up and just goes through all the targets in a leisurely fashion, like it's taking a walk in the park. Natural gas, oh, I'm going to take a walk into my targets and hit them all. That was a really nice trade, okay? So 2 weeks ago was an excellent winner. Mark, you like the dark. There's a couple of people that say they can't see the setups. So I'm going to go back and forth. Occasionally, I'm going to use the dark because I trade better on the dark. I can see better. Here's 3 weeks ago, and I'll just make sure that I speak my setups real clearly. so that if you have trouble seeing them, I'll make sure I speak them real clearly. The funny thing is when I look at it on the screen share that I'm doing, it looks really clear to me. Now that week on July 29th looked like a troubled trade. If you notice, it didn't really move in a leisurely fashion. It kind of whipped up. It didn't go through the targets. It just looked much more difficult. There was a big wick up to the top, a low volume wick that exploded up. Definitely looked like a more challenging trade on July 29th, okay? Might not have easily made all three targets on that one. Now, if any of you live traders have a journal, tell me what your trade results were on the 29th. Now, usually I mark it in my journal, so let me take a quick look if I made a note. Usually I'll say members in the room made money live. All right, you know what? I'm finding three target winner on the 29th, okay? It says for me three target winner on the 29th. Let's look at the 22nd. Then I'll set up the trade because it's 20 minutes after. I'm trying to, I don't know if I can succeed doing this. Every trade room, I'd like to have either a small rant, a topic that I just spent a couple of minutes on, like broker support, things like we did today. So if there's ever a topic you want me to cover, you know, like do a short, what I call a short topic coverage in the trade room, just let me know. I would like to keep the trade rooms interesting. You know, I love talking music. I know people get very upset if they have a losing trade. So, you know, I'm not going to fool around if there's a losing trade. Now, that was an awesome trade on the 22nd of July. And I think that a couple of people had a problem on the 22nd, that they didn't get good fills. But that, yeah, here's what my notes say. That trade looks perfect. And my notes say that on the 22nd, losing trade for every live member. So even though that looked like a perfect trade, it was not. It wasn't. And the reason I know is because members that were trading it live in the room told me. I think that if I would have traded that live, I think I would have made money on that trade. That's what I think, based on the way I've been getting filled and based on just all of the issues that I have trading events. I think I would have made money on that trade. But no one did, so I could be wrong. So that clearly was a loser, July 22nd, even though it looks like a winner. It did not hold up in live trading. One more quick one. Let's look at July 15th. Learning, even whether a trade is a win or a loss. Hey, there's that checkbox. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought it was something else. Even if a trade is a winner or a loser, sometimes is not as important as you all using replay to just see the moves and understand how big the move is going to be, how fast was the move. When you look at 5 trades in a row, and then you do some practicing using replay, when you come into the room getting ready to trade live, you have so much more confidence in your ability to trade that you're going to do much, 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 much better because you've practiced. Now, this particular week, I was doing something with gold on my left chart, and I forgot to turn back to natural gas. The move was on the right with natural gas that month. That week, I'm sorry. And it looked like a pretty fast move down, very fast, okay? So that was the 15th. Let me just see if I had any notes saying what happened to people on the 15th. But this is why it's so important. Okay, possible one target. Target one member got 8 ticks, heavy slippage. Now, you can understand why there was heavy slippage. If a candle prints as if there's no movement and it's very big, very long, like that, you can expect that there probably is going to be slippage. That's a very fast print, right? It didn't move like some of the other candles. It just all of a sudden the candle's there. Okay, that tells you possible slippage warning, possible not hitting targets, etc. Okay, those are things that you learn by looking at events, watching events. I'm always using, yeah, I use my video recorder. I don't use the video recorder that's part of the trade room unless my personal recorder didn't record or I forgot to turn it on. AJ, what are you asking for? What's the point? What's your point? I can answer the question if I understand what you're getting at. Oh, those are video. Those are video, not replay. Nothing is faster than video, AJ. Nothing is more educational in the trade room than video, in my opinion. So for watching the previous moves, I use video. For practicing, obviously, you're going to use replay. And if people want to stick around a couple of minutes, if I can, and I hope I can, after natural gas, I wanted to show you something about this morning. I don't know what happened on the 8:30 watched trade, and I downloaded the data. We could do a quick replay if people want to see it. So I'm going to set up the natural gas trade exactly like the DMM. So I click the strategy, so it shows up under configured. It's a bracket of 5. Go down to position size. 3 targets, 5, 8, and 12. Okay, 5, 8, and 12. So you have to put 3 positions in. 1, 1, and 1. Position size 1 is 1. Position size 2 is 1. Position size 3 is 1. Profit target 1 is 5. Profit target 2 is 8. Profit target 3 is 12. Stop loss is 15. I've been trying to shrink this stop, and all the testing, nobody is able to recommend using a lesser stop. Entry time is 10:29:59 on natural gas. And it's one of the reasons, we talk about it all the time, it's a breakout trade. It's one of the reasons natural gas is difficult to call as a family money trade. Even when it's doing so well, I label the trade natural gas. Even when it's trading so well overall, it's because when you have a loser, you can have a much bigger loser than when you have a winner. So you've got to have a couple of winning trades, 2 or 3, to make up for one bad loser. AJ, I'm using the program called Snagit. It's a little baby brother to Camtasia. Costs about $60 to buy it. It's not a subscription. It's a great little program. There are free programs online. You just got to make sure you Google free screen recorders. Make sure they don't use a lot of resources. I'm going to check my time sync by going to the website time.is. Time.is. I can hear our landscaper is here. So give me a minute. Okay, so I'm not going to talk to him now, obviously. We got about 4 minutes to go. Make sure you enable your trade after you set it up. Don't forget. So we're debating what to do about natural gas. I mean, I think maybe it's not a family money trade, but as our testing account gets bigger, either we'll put more funds in for much more significant testing because it's a pretty small account, or it keeps growing. It's been slowly growing the test account, even though we're trading the riskiest of all the trades. I'm bugging my bosses to fund it more heavily so we can do more live trading of reports that aren't family money trades and trade them properly with the right amount of contracts. Because it makes a difference. If you trade natural gas and you only get target one, it's only 5 ticks. Yeah, I've heard of NCH, AJ. I've heard of NCH. They have a lot of free software that I've seen. Snagit's extremely easy. I'm really totally impatient when it comes to trying to use new tools. If there's a tool that's not intuitive, it absolutely drives me insane. Now, if you notice, I'm trying to see if FX Street gives us a good response because investing.com's been working so poorly. So I want to thank all the folks watching us on YouTube also. If you feel like giving us a like, that would be really nice because we're doing so much streaming, and we really appreciate, that you come and watch us. The other thing, folks, is I want to quickly I'm going to give a webinar tomorrow, how to find your own trades, okay? And here's the registration. Don't even look at it now because the trade's coming up. It's in the chat. If you want to register and come tomorrow at noon, love to have you at the Find Your Own Fish, Find Your Own Trades. So here's natural gas. Let's see how it behaves today. It's been behaving quite well. I'm assuming a couple of people are trading it live, maybe TJ. If you trade it live, let me know what happens to your trade when you're done. I don't want to bother you until you're done trading it. So if you trade it live, let me know if you used our settings and what happened to you. So a couple of things we're looking at. What's natural gas? Is it going to work with FX Street? Is it going to update right away? That's what I want to see. Oh man, that was a perfect trade. It did not update. Did not update. I don't see, the issue with natural gas, I'm assuming anybody who traded that live hit all their targets. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Whoever traded, did you hit all your targets? It did not update. Did not update. So I'm going to look into, I know FX Street does do updating. They've changed their website quite a bit. TJ, what happened on that one? It didn't hit your targets? That did not look fast to me. It did not look fast. Now, liquidity, volume was a little bit low this morning, and it's August also. So TJ only got target one. Albert, you got stopped on 2 targets, it sounds like. 2 targets? 2 positions, Albert? Or was that 1? So it just goes to show analysis on natural gas is not always as truth. It's not that we're not truthful. That looked like what would have been a great trade. So I had to press a button on FX Street to get the news. It was a beautiful news offset. That should have been, yes, Kathy, 12 noon. That should have been a winning trade. The news offset was 46 billion versus 31 expected, a very big build. It drove the price down, but my guess is that you can't see with the naked eye all the moves that natural gas makes. If you look at a range chart, let me find one and I'll show you. If you look at a range chart, a one range chart for natural gas, the same instrument that you traded, you can actually see all of the movements, okay? All of the movements that you don't see with the naked eye, because it's a one range chart. It shows you absolutely every little tick. So let's go back to the time of the trade. So there was my fill. Now another thing you can do, bear with me. Where is the data box? Okay, right click the chart, it'll show you the data box. The data box, if you outline, if you hover over a candle, it will show you the volume of a candle. Some of these candles have no volume. That's why people got lousy fills. I've never seen no volume. 1, 0, this is really terrible, terrible volume. Every little tick, we didn't see the price go up and down, up and down, up and down. We saw it just move in one direction. What the naked eye can't see is why a trade might not work, okay? So I keep a range chart, a one range chart open in my workspace so that if I try to figure out why a trade didn't work, I can look at the range chart. I could look at the range chart and figure it, okay? What Mark is saying is probably true. Natural gas for live just seems to be too inconsistent for us to do it. I mean, that's the issue. It's too darn inconsistent, okay? Now, Fred, you took a 30-second reversal signal, Fred? And tell me again, I apologize, what was your momentum on the squeeze? What was your momentum on the squeeze? 17 on a 30-second indicator. So what Fred's saying is he uses the squeeze. His momentum length is 17, okay? And the signal, did you take the first one at 10:32, Fred? I assume that you did. You had to be able to get in really fast. You had to have been able to get in really fast. He was able to get in when the color changed and the momentum changed from dark red to light red with a smaller candle. It went up. That's a potential reversal signal. Easier seen, say right here on the 1 minute chart. You can see it more easily. That's a way that people use the squeeze. It was very, very fast today, and that's something you must practice. But natural gas is not always what it appears to be, okay? It's not always what it appears to be. So I was curious about one thing, though, that I want to show you all. Let me reset my account, and because this is our only trade room for today, I want to show you something. There was a report this morning, right? We had a report. Let me just save my video on natural gas. Let me turn my video back on so that eventually if somebody wants this, they can get it. I want to show you what I do if I didn't test a report with live market data. So this morning, I downloaded Gold 1221 with Ninjatrader, okay? I downloaded 1221. I can show you how to do that. It's very simple. So you go to Tools, Historical Data. Historical Data gives you this chart. You click Market Replay, click Load down at the bottom, get Market Replay, put in today's date, it's the 19th, and download the contract we would have traded on that report, which was gold 1221. GC 1221, download. I now have the data that I need to replay the 8:30 report, okay, which was Philly Fed and the Thursday jobless claims, okay? Philly Fed and the Philly Fed and the Thursday jobless claims. I disconnect my live connection. I connect playback or replay. Put the date on today. Today is the 19th on both of the boxes. Make sure it says Market Replay. In this blank space, click the right mouse button, go to, and I put in the time of the trade a couple of seconds before. It was an 8:30 report. So I put in 8:29:50 for argument's sake. I need 10 seconds to prepare. 8:29:50, okay it. And now remember there's that little bug in Ninja. Sometimes when you press play, it resets the time to 0. Didn't do it today. Sometimes it does it when you put in a strategy. So now I'm just going to put in the strategy we would use for that particular report. And we have a mini DMM that we use for Thursday job reports, okay? Usually when it trades with other news. So I hope that you save your DMMs, right? I would hope you save your DMMs in a file so you can reference previous ones, like I just did. So this is a Thursday, and this is an old one, so I want to get a current one. Let me get a new one. You want to use the most recent Thursday claims setup, okay? So here's a very recent 8:30 Thursday. This was last week because we traded. So I'm going to set up my trade on gold. Use the strategy as if I'm trading live, no different. So it says a bracket of 8. So I use a bracket of 8. Targets of 8 and 15. I would use a little bit smaller targets. I would go 6 and 15 because it's shown in the morning that it's pretty choppy. A stop of 12, okay? Entry time, 8:29:59. That's something that's always up for testing. Sometimes 8:30 might be better. Philly Fed is almost always late. But for now, we'll use 59. And my trade is ready. That's it. It's a very small little DMM. And all I'm doing is replaying it, okay? I apply it, okay it, enable it. And, you know, if you want to look at the news, you can bring up your news, right? You can look at investing.com. It's cheating a little bit if you know the news beforehand, right? So let's look at the news after the report. So this is the clock I'm using up here. That's why my regular clock is not on the chart. And I press play. And now my brackets are going to show up at 8:29:59, just like a real trade. There's my trade. The jobless numbers just were released. Gold. I would use I'd probably use a 15 to 20 second cancel. Not a very good response this morning. Probably Philly Fed was late. It almost always is. But this is a report that the jobless numbers didn't appear to do anything. You might want to cancel, especially knowing that Philly Fed has a history of being late. The news on Philly Fed was the worst Philly Fed report, I think, in a long, long time. So I would expect gold to move up on the report today because they look at Philly Fed. and it's important to the markets. And now if we want to see what that report was, so the testing didn't bode well for a follow through on movement. So not a great test, okay? So you can stop your market. Now we can go and look at the news. Maybe the news was mixed. Maybe there's a reason why the test worked so poorly. And now if we look at the jobless numbers, the initial jobless claims is the important number. They were positive. Philly Fed was negative. So you had mixed news, which can create the kind of response that we saw. You got to fill. Now, if you used an 11 tick bracket, you might have had a safe report. It may just be that an 8 tick bracket at 830 has become inconsistent because we're seeing a lot of inconsistent at 830. And Fred is saying that Philly Fed was late, which it almost always is, okay? So folks, the importance of replay, it lets you see what happened on a report that we're watching. It lets you practice trading, okay? And it lets you use all our tools without any risk, and it makes you a better trader. So I wanted to show you a quick replay because I didn't know what happened this morning and I wanted to see. So I would put that down as inconsistent, possibly due to mixed news. Philly Fed was late, according to Fred. Philly Fed, it's the reason I didn't have a trade room. We can't count on that trade to be reliable. So that's the reason we didn't want to trade real money on it. Any questions, folks? I hope everybody will come to the webinar tomorrow. It would be great if you could make it. If you can't make it, we're really going to go over just what we did, a little bit of what we did today, okay? And we're going to just talk about different setups. I'll answer any questions that you have. It should be a good, useful class for everybody that wants to learn how to think a little bit outside the box, find your own trades, and how to test them. Albert, for some reason, the stop and limit lines do not display on live trades. The stop and limit lines don't display on live trades. You can't move your stop, Albert? I would create a new chart. Absolutely. Create new charts and see if that doesn't fix it. If it's a corrupted chart, possibly. I've never, ever heard of that, to be honest. Obviously, I'd reboot the platform. And then, Albert, if you can't get it working after sending new charts, send me an email and we'll work it. Also, obviously, make sure your chart is on the right format. I think you know this. If you're on Sim, make sure you're on Sim. If you're on Live, make sure you're on Live. Make sure you're running the most recent version of the software also, which is on the website. I would create new charts, Albert, and then send me an email and let me know what's going on, okay? That's what I would do. All right. NG didn't look like, AJ, what's crazy, it didn't look like it filled that fast today. It just didn't look anywhere near that fast. I'm really, really surprised. I think we want to be careful for the next 2 weeks, trade very little the next 2 weeks because we're dealing with the lowest volume and we're dealing with the lowest liquidities, okay? Lowest volume, lowest liquidities. What's the checkbox that might be Albert's problem? AJ, can you expound on that? I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. I'm not sure. All right, folks. Albert, keep me posted. Send me an email. And I'll see everybody tomorrow at the webinar, hopefully 12 noon. So it'd be awesome if everybody comes. The link is in the chat. If you just scroll up, it's in there. And I'll see everybody tomorrow at noon. Okay? Okay, Albert, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Take care.